We have a fascinating topic to discuss today. Jocelyn, tell us what we're going to be thinking about here.
We're going to talk a little bit about the mind-body connection and the energy body, and how healing our energy body and having positive emotional well-being leads to strong physical health.
One of the reasons why I'm interested in this topic is because as we've been producing the Breast Archives documentary, there's been more and more attention that I'm giving to my breasts. Sometimes I feel my breasts and sometimes I don't. And I feel like I've lost the ability to feel them. Like I feel my vagina. I feel my yoni canal, as they say. And I can feel my heart. But my breasts, it sort of comes and goes. And I have this instinctive belief that the breasts are much more perceptive than I've learned how to experience.
All the body parts have wisdom within them and something that we can learn about ourselves throughout them. The most important thing is intention and having the willingness to feel things that are uncomfortable. Over time, we become disconnected from all of our body parts, but especially something as contentious as the breast. And the primary coping mechanism that humans, especially in the Western world, use is to separate themselves from uncomfortable feelings. People tell you, don't cry when you're upset, and that teaches us how to push it down and how to stop feeling. And anytime you felt something uncomfortable in your breast growing up or had uncomfortable feelings about your breast, chances are that you separated yourself from that as a way to not have to feel those uncomfortable feelings, when what really could have helped would have been going into the uncomfortable feeling, learning what you can learn from it, and then releasing it.
But isn't there a way, besides emotional memory, nostalgia, sort of heart-based feelings, that I can connect with my breast? Do you know what I mean? Like, how can I create breast consciousness? I know that as my breasts were first forming and the nipples are just sort of emerging from the chest wall, we really are putting bras pretty tightly against our nipples, against our mammary glands. And I think that there's a loss of sensitivity because of that.
When I wear a bra, I feel much less aware of my breasts.
Yeah.
They're held back and pushed up, and it makes sense that we would notice them less in that moment when they're encased in that way. Again, it's about intention and attention. So where you bring your attention is going to make all the difference. If you're wanting to develop more sensitivity in your nipples, you have to kind of take a willingness to feel into your nipples and see what's there. And that sensitivity can arise. It's within you. It's something that you can tune into and learn how to access on a deeper level.
And yet I feel like it's a shame, because the sensitivity of the nipple is kind of like having sensitivity of my lips. Mm-hmm. I want that sensitivity. I want to know my nipples the way I know my lips. I don't want them to be numb. I want them to be familiar. I want them to be mine and not some priest's fear of my sexuality.
Totally. Our bodies really can only be our own when we embrace them and we choose to look at them exactly the way they are, to accept the feelings that come up, and to be brave enough not to move away from the feelings that are difficult.
Well said.
I think you're right, though, that stimulating the nipples has this attachment to sexuality, and then you have to find like a climax after that. Our culture is very oriented about the end goal, and there can be like sexual feelings in the body that don't necessarily lead to orgasm, and that can be a really good teaching and learning tool as well, just to see what comes up and not necessarily have the goal of orgasm in mind.
What can we learn from those sensations? It seems like a mindfulness, a piece that that's sort of been taught out of us. That said, that space between the thoughts, between the breath, like that ability to sense, unique presence as a natural being in a moment. I don't know how else to say without sounding cliche.
Well, what we're learning is not any different than what we're learning in a moment of meditation or a great moment of epiphany, because in those moments, what's common is that you're quieting your mind and you're allowing yourself to be fully in the present and to experience your reality fully. And that's how we learn about our own specific reactions to events that come up in our life. That's how we discover what emotional attachments we have to external relationships or goals that we're trying to meet. Anything about our reflective outer lives and how that shows up in our inner body can be learned in those moments.
It's so interesting because the concept of self-healing is as preposterous as it sounds. It also deeply resonates with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I personally believe it's a skill that's been taught out of us.
Okay.
And I think our culture, I think the Judeo-Christian sort of patriarchal culture has disconnected us and disengaged us from these types of capacities.
We think we need a doctor to heal us.
Yes, we go to the third party or to the machine.
Right.
So what do you know about self-healing? What do you think?
Well, I think it's going to be directly related to the understanding that, like, you will bring whatever you think about most into your life experience. So if what you want to focus on is healing, but what you're always focusing on is, sickness or fear, what you're going to bring is more sickness and fear, when what you really should be trying to cultivate is more positive.
See, I think actually that this is a skill that, like a muscle, it just merely needs to be developed.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And I think one way of doing it is harnessing the orgasm, delivering the life force energy that's obtainable from orgasm, and then directing that energy to a place in your body that needs healing, or maybe it's just a chakra, maybe it's your heart or your throat.
There's a lot of truth to that. I don't think orgasm is necessarily needed in order to do that. I mean, you can visualize white or pink light and you can send it to specific areas. You can visualize yourself at certain times in your life, like when you're depressed or a child, or when a trauma happened, and you can send that person healing light and you can heal yourself through that process.
And then also hands-on
healing, for sure.
Our heart is connected to our hands, the central vessels that extend from the heart out into our hands.
That's true.
And we can apply the sort of the heart's knowing to an area of our body.
Okay.
I just have to also say this idea of self-healing is almost too empowering. It's like, oh my gosh, if I had that ability, I mean, no more excuses, no more playing small, no more, operating from the sidelines, from the stands at the arena,
It puts a lot of the responsibility on the individual. You have the ability to design your life through your thoughts and through your choices.
I think breast massage is a way to begin the cultivation of an understanding of oneself, being able to self-heal. When I massage my breasts with my handy-dandy breast balm, I am also connecting with my heart. And when I connect with my heart, I feel a tremendous self-love and self-care. It's a tenderness that moves through my body in this sort of euphoric waves. And I think that's been a great starting point in my belief that we have an ability to really take care of ourselves to a much greater extent than we've been taught or that we've been exposed to.
I agree. I think self-massage is a really powerful tool because you're participating in an act of self-nurturance. And even if there aren't obvious, direct physical results from that, the act of participating in self-love, active self-love, is going to promote more positive feelings about yourself. It'll raise your self-esteem. It'll give you a deeper connection with your body. Positive things all around.
Yeah. I think the breast is a terrific starting point in cultivating a more loving relationship with the body. It's just the perfect medium.
It's an especially good body part to use because we're so disconnected from the breasts. I don't have much of a connection with my thighs or my knees or my back, but I don't have the same contention towards them that I have about my breasts. And so starting with an area of the body it has been beleaguered in a way, we are healing more active parts of ourselves than we realize. It's not just the breasts that are being touched, it's our whole self. It's the part of ourself that has been wounded through our negative breast identity or through the negative experiences that we've had with other people in regards to our breasts. By taking, your body into your hands and administering some kind of self-massage, you're taking your body back, essentially, from the people that have led to you feeling disconnected in the first place.